I like your shirt.
Thank you.
My dad went to Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah, my brother played at Cal State Fullerton. So.
Oh, cool. So, Washington this week, reviewing their film, what did you see out of that Oregon-Washington game, and what's their defensive front like?
Well, when you take a look at the film, Washington is one of the best teams in the Pac-12, if not the best. I think they're a really good team. Up front, they're dominant. It's going to be a good challenge for the offensive line, and we're really excited for it.
So speaking of that, you guys obviously played Friday this last week, and I assume had a chance to just sit down and watch live the Oregon-Washington game.
I didn't, but
you didn't?
No, I didn't. I was at a Co-Wetzel concert, but
oh, okay.
But a lot of people did, yes.
Okay. Well, then you might not be able to answer my question, but so I was just curious, like if there's some value in watching your next opponent live before you actually break down film.
Yeah, I would say there definitely is. I watched the USC game live the week before, so I can say that. I'd say definitely helps getting that extra time to look over the film. But when it comes down to it, they're a good team. Yeah.
You guys actually rushed the ball pretty well, especially with Alex on Friday. What was it about Alex and your guys' plan in the run game that was so successful early on?
Well, Alex is an incredible running back, and I think the offensive line, we just try to do our job every play, and it doesn't work out every time, but most of the time we do our job and things go well, so we're just going to keep doing that.
Because of injuries, that running back position has been kind of a revolving door a little bit, but you've got some talent there. Is it different blocking for Anthony and Alex and Dion?
Well, most of the time I have no clue who's behind us until they go past. So it's cool. They all have their own unique running style, and I think they bring positives in their style. So either way, I know we're going to be good with whichever back is back there.
So as a follow-up to that, two of those guys have had 100-yard games in recent games. So how much pride is there as an offensive line, no matter who it is, that you've got a 100-yard rusher?
Yeah, when it comes down to it, the offensive line takes a lot of pride in our work, and we know that when it comes down to it, the offensive line needs to be the backbone of the offense. So we just go out there, try to do our job.
After Colorado, what does your future with football look like?
Only time will tell. Right now, I'm just trying to focus on these next two games, and then we'll see what comes after the season.
Number 49 for USC, Tui Peloto. He had a good game against you guys. What was he doing, and then how are you able to prepare for another set of really good defensive line and edge rushers this week?
Yeah, number 49, great player. I think his explosiveness, his strength, his physicalness, and he obviously is a really smart football player. He knows what's going on. So we need to take what we learned from playing against him and apply it to practice this week and trying to know what our weaknesses are and attack every rep at practice.
To your high school, Owen Carey, Mater Dei guy.
Yeah.
Did you know him at all?
I didn't know Owen. The second that I met Owen, I could tell he was a Mater Dei guy. He is the image of a Coach Rawlinson coached football player.
And so what's been your impression of him? I know that he's been more special teams this year, but I think he's one of those good young players on this team. What's your impression of him as you've gone against him in practice?
Yeah, going against Owen has made me a lot better this year. I think Owen is smart, physical, and tough. When it comes down to it, he's going to be a great player for Colorado, and I think the background at Mater Dei helps. But when it comes down to it, it's Owen's character, and he goes out there and works hard every day.
Anything else for Tommy? All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Good. How are you doing, man? Good. Yeah, but not that big. Not by my accord. Above all else, I just wanted to, just talk about just sending our condolences as a program to Charlottesville and to the families and to the football program and the athletic department, University family, University of Virginia. We had a chance to talk about it this morning as a team in our team meeting. Just absolutely an atrocity. There's a lot of people that are hurting out there in this college age, player that we coach and all students on campuses and really everywhere. And we just wanted to create a safe space for our players to be able to talk about, things that are going on and to acknowledge that there are a lot of challenges that face, every one of us. And in the process of doing so, I found out that Tyron Taylor was high school teammates of one of those that were a victim of this atrocity. And just can't imagine that. He grew up together playing football with him, and it hits home. And I think there's going to be a lot of stories like that across the country of people that have, players and connections to what happened at the University of Virginia. So once again, we want to send our condolences, our thoughts, and our prayers are with you, in Charlottesville. We'll open for questions.
Going off of that, I mean, the last couple of years have offered a lot of opportunities to talk about, issues going on outside of football, with teams. How important is that as a head coach to make sure that you're addressing like national things and things that are going on so that your team knows that you understand that they're dealing with certain things, that they're aware of certain things.
Yeah.
You know what
I think there's so many different just forces and there's obviously there's political beliefs, there's division. The thing that I love about the opportunity to work with young people is to when done the right way, you can show that you're empathetic to the things that are going on in the world, things that are going on in their life, and even sometimes also our players understanding some of the stuff that we're going through as coaches and adults, and just having that open dialogue I think is really important. And really for me, what I've learned over the years is it's really not like there's no perfect right way, to speak about an issue. There's no real true solution to all that's going on in the world. But I think one thing that is maybe not the solution, but at least, I think it goes a long way with the people that we're entrusted to be able to care for is to have those conversations and to create a safe space of being able to vent how you're feeling. And I think it was an interesting time because, there were players in there that were emotional for other reasons, and whether this brought up something from their past and they weren't directly tied to it. And sometimes I think we just want to just live life and just, move on to the next period of practice, right, in every area of our life. And sometimes you got to pause. And, I was driving in this morning and I just thought about, that there are people in our program that this, the optics of this, the visuals of this, the fear of this, I think it hits them right between the eyes. And I'm one of them, and I was even thinking about, the University of Virginia football team, how to proceed forward, and I can't imagine being in their shoes. And I think just having those conversations with our players and offering them the assistance that they need, as an institution here at the university, I think is really important.
Hi, Coach. Alex Fontenot, healthy. What's up with Deion Smith? Will he be playing on Saturday?
He will. He practiced today. Was full speed, looked great. Trevor Woods, same way. So I think our health is good. I mean, it's been a physical, tough stretch, but I think for us to be, closer to full health going into this game is certainly going to be help to what we face. So.
Hey, Coach, with Michael Penix up this week, obviously one of the best passers in the nation, but he's shown a real tendency to get brave with the football and try and fit it into tight windows. Do you view any opportunities in that department this week?
Well, before I address that, Jake, I think this might be like today. This might be the best team in the conference. Because frankly, after the Oregon game, just seeing the roster seeing the top to bottom nature of who they are as a program, for this team to go into Autzen Stadium and beat them, I mean, they're as good as any team right now in college, maybe, in the top 5, top 10 of college football, because you're only as good as your last game, and you can look to earlier in the season when they, lost to Arizona State and point to that. They're playing really good football right now, and they're extremely confident. I've been watching Michael Penix in my crossover study in the Big Ten, for the last several years, so I know his skill set. We always watched Indiana's offense when I was game planning for other teams, and just another one of these quarterbacks that he has elite arm talent. I mean, I'm talking. In terms of velocity, RPMs on the ball, you can't find a guy that throws the ball with as much conviction as he does. But he also has that trait that I keep talking about as a creator. And, play breaks down. He's a threat to run. He's a threat to create an explosive play. They throw the ball down the field. It's a little bit different than Oregon. I mean, Oregon has down the field routes, and a lot of what they do are checking the ball down because everybody's mortified of their speed. Washington will throw it down the field. And, another name that I'm close with is Junior Adams, who was the receiver coach at University of Washington. He was my offensive coordinator at Western Kentucky prior to that. He told me that wide receiver group is something else. I mean, he said and it took him a while to build it, but he's like, that's one of the best in the country. And then you combine that with Michael Penix. This is a really good football team. And we've played really good football teams. Like, this is a really, really good football team. And all you can evaluate them on is what they've done recently. And what they just did is they went into Autzen Stadium, and first time in how many games that somebody went into Autzen and beat the Ducks, first time in their program in I don't know how long, but it's a significant amount of time that they went in there, and they were playing against a team with legitimate national championship aspirations and went and beat them, and it wasn't fluky. I mean, they beat them. They beat them from the first snap. It was like Washington's better than Oregon, on the field that day. And so, it's a monumental task for our football team to go in there. And we're excited for that task.
We talked to Owen Carey this morning, and he was just telling us about how the freshman class has really bought into this program. Can you attest to that, and how important is that to have that stability moving forward?
Well, it's fun because because of the reality of our roster, and this is a really exciting roster. With the correct development, with the correct retention. But the reality is we lost 23 players in the portal. And so what does that do? It forces your incoming freshmen to have to play massive roles. A lot of times your backup third or fourth year player is your special teams, your R4 on kickoff. In our case, it's, almost our entire special teams unit is comprised of freshmen and walk-ons. And you're seeing that in our offensive and defensive two deep really as the year's gone on. What that does, obviously, is that it really expedites their growth. It forces them to not just show up and go to practice as a scout team player, but to have to really, ingest all this stuff, not only from a schematic standpoint, from a cultural standpoint as well. And like I've repeatedly said, the keys for this program moving forward is to continue that development, because that development it's not going to happen today. It's going to happen over time. We're seeing proper growth, but it's holding on to something that I believe is very special, and that's going to be the key for this program, because they bought in. They are fully bought in, and not just the freshmen. We had a couple scouts at practice today. I think there were 3 or 4 scouts, and quick announcement while I'm on that is Daniel Arias and Brady Russell were invited today. I told them in front of the team to the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, which is a tremendous honor for both those guys. But those scouts that are there, they're seeing some of the development that's happening. When they're watching film back in their respective spots. But those scouts all they do is they go around to practices around the country. And all 3 of the scouts told Lance Carl that you would never know at all what our current situation is by how we practice. You would never know that. And I've been saying that for a couple weeks, but to hear people that go around and they go to Alabama, they go to, Tennessee, they go to, USC practices, and they said that the effort, the buy-in of what's going on in that practice field is second to none. And that to me is a credit to them, because that's real life stuff. Fighting through adversity. Nobody wanted to be in the position we're in right now. Nobody wanted to have to play a season with 23 less players than you thought you were going into it with, in addition to the seniors that left. But the fact that they're bought into the process of getting better is, it to me, it shows so much about their character. And I think a lot of those freshmen are in that group.
Coach, the last couple of weeks against Oregon and USC, some underlying storylines just with the players that transferred out and on those teams. I know you're playing a really good football team this week, but does that make it a little bit easier not having to deal with that storyline again this week?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that the thing that is hard is, nobody really talks to those players, at least in a friendly manner during the games. There was actually a lot of really good banter going on the sideline. As a competitive person myself, I got a kick out of some of the stuff that was being said back and forth. It was good competitive stuff, but what I think the challenge sometimes is afterwards, right? You see when a guy that you were really close with as a player a year ago might have been your best friend, might have been your roommate, might have been somebody you were in the position group with. You certainly sat in position or special teams meetings with. And I think some of them on our team, seeing those guys that were here, and then they're somewhere else, and they might have an NIL deal. They might have. They're all in. I mean, let's be honest. They're all on. A lot of them are on top 10 teams, top 25 teams in the country. And just I think that's hard for the players sometimes. Like they have thoughts, they have feelings, they have emotions too. And so when you're looking at the retention of the roster, you have to be cognizant of that fact. That's a real fact. And if we're just going to turn a blind eye to it, then we're going to live the same story again. And so that's why I think this relationship that's going on with our current roster is extremely important for that kind of development. Because what the last thing you want to be is you don't want to be a farm system for everybody else. Because by putting good film out, you create that type of environment. And that's a real issue. And that's an issue that we're taking on head on. And I think it's very important for all of us to understand that.
I don't know how much you can disclose about your conversations that you have with Rick George every week, but is there any updates on that front, on what you guys are talking about and looking towards the future?
Really, Rick and I have been meeting every single week. It's been very good, transparency, getting ahead of the issues to move this program forward. I would say a lot of our conversations are personnel-based. A lot of our conversations are about our roster. A lot of our conversations are all about, ways to step into this new age of college football that we all know has been there. Rick's known this, as well. I've known this. And just working together through that has been a lot of the nature of our conversations.
I know the formula everywhere is different, but, last year Colorado beat this Washington team here, and it was a good win for the Buffs, and very different Washington team. Last year, very different. USC was very different. They were both these teams were 4-8 last year. We've seen Kansas, right? Are you amazed sometimes? I know that the new system lends itself to this, but are you amazed at how quickly
I'm not one bit.
Teams can change? No?
Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams. That's the answer. That couldn't have happened 3 years ago. I mean, how do you change an NFL franchise? Get a quarterback that's a top 10 player in the country, top 10 draft pick. And obviously you got hit on that too, right? But the thing that's a little bit different, even more so in college football, is you think about what Michael Penix did in the COVID year. Indiana was, 6-1, beat Penn State. Incredible play. Bo Nix, double-digit wins, went through a ton of adversity, went through coaching changes. What he's already done. Caleb Williams, basically a Heisman talk as a true freshman. Not even as the starter, as at the beginning of the season. The thing that's different about the NFL is that you have to project a quarterback from a lower level to a higher level. In college football, you're projecting a quarterback from the same level to the same level, and they get better as time goes on. So, I mean, we could say these are phenomenal jobs of coaching, and they are. There's great coaches, but this is a player's game. And just look at the quick turnarounds. Oregon State to me is a great example. That's not just one piece coming in, but what you saw there is retention. You saw growth. You saw going through the hard times. In a lot of these other instances, this is all about talent acquisition, and it's the name of it's the name of the game of football. It's about the players and coaches. We work, and all of us. I mean, good coaches. We all work our tails off every single week to put our players in the best positions to be successful. And all those coaches at those 3 institutions are doing a phenomenal job of that. But at the end of the day, when you have a proven trigger puller that's done it at a very high level, and then you surround them with skill, whether you retain that skill or whether you add that skill, I mean, it's obviously lending itself to a quick turnaround. But there are things in place that you have to have as an institution to be able to give yourself that chance for that talent acquisition and make a massive impact.
Just saw that Jordan Tyson's getting surgery today. Have you been able to talk to him?
FaceTimed him this morning. I woke him up. I felt bad. I thought his surgery was going to be a little bit later, but Rick George has had a chance to speak to him and talk to him and spend some time. I did as well. Our players or coaches are all reaching out to him, and he wasn't nervous at all. Kind of cool thing that he told me, and obviously, he told me he got some NIL money, which was pretty cool. That wasn't happening 6 weeks ago at all. So, like I was talking about 3-4 weeks ago, whether it's a small gift, whether it's a big gift, it matters. And small or big, right? It still goes a long way. Like especially for a young man like that that's hurting. It goes a long way, and even some of the travel and going back to Dallas and stuff like that. Like, it's not just I mean, these are real life things that these players are going through, and just to see him excited about that was cool.
Anything else for Coach? All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you very much. Oh, jeez, sorry. Looked at my case. You're like creepy.
You're like, I'm out. Real quick.
Sorry to throw it over here. We all good? All right. Nico, you had that awesome interception up against Brendan Rice. Overall, how'd you read that play, and how'd it feel to get that interception?
In that play, we were in a play, so I had to stay outside and deep. But actually, my safety wasn't inside, and I was supposed to have help. But I just trusted my speed, and I looked back to see the ball, and trusted that I could still undercut it and catch it, and I ended up making a play. So yeah.
Nico, you've gone against Bo Nix and Caleb Williams the last 2 weeks. Now you have Michael Penix on the schedule. What's the approach going into playing another really good quarterback this week?
Really just focusing on like what I can do, like my technique and stuff like that. Because I feel like if you're where you're supposed to be by doing your job, it's just all going to pay off. So no matter how good somebody is, as long as you do your job and use your technique, you can do good enough for yourself.
So as a competitor, how much do you and your fellow DBs like going against receivers like this and challenging yourself?
So we like to think we're like the best. So when we know we have like good receivers to go up against, I feel like that's a good challenge for us to see where we're at. You're not going to win everything, so you just learn from going against good receivers like that we've been against. So it's a good challenge.
Nico, last year you guys won this matchup. Obviously things are a lot different going into this game, but is there still that hope that remains that you could possibly pull out a win this week?
Yep. Whatever team plays the best that Saturday is going to be the team that the favor of the outcome. So I feel like even though we might have not had the season that we had, we go in every week with the confidence that we can still win. And you have to think that anything can happen. So if you execute more than the other team, then you're probably going to win. So that's how we're going into this game too.
You've been returning kicks also. There's been a few times you'll take one out. What's kind of do you have the green light to do that whenever you want? And kind of, can you talk us through that philosophy of when you're going to take a kick return out?
Honestly, I just read it off how high the ball is in the air, and if it's a good kick. If it's a good enough kick for me to return it, then I'll take it out. If it's like hanging in there a little too long, so they're like the kickoff team is coming fast, then I might not take it out. But honestly, it's just based off of like if I have the ability to make sure I catch it and have my block set up at the right spot, so the other team isn't like coming down on us faster than we can set up. So, yeah.
And as a follow-up to that, there's been a couple returns you've had that look like you were pretty close to taking it all the way. Have you felt that you've been pretty close a few times?
I might have seemed like I was close, but honestly, I don't think, like for myself, I'm a big critic on myself. I honestly haven't been doing a good job. I feel like getting close is like I'm 5 yards from the end zone. I feel like that's close. But honestly, I feel like I could do better, so yeah, I haven't really got close.
Anything else for Nico? All right, thanks, Nico. Appreciate it.
Thank you.